TG Geeks, episode 167, April 30th, 2018. Geeks and Opera and Avenging Rabbits. Hello and welcome to another webcast from tggeeks.com, where Ben and Keith, the two gay geeks, talk about all aspects of geekdom and nerdery. Sci-fi, comics, film, horror, genre, you name it, we talk about it, including opera. I'm Keith Lane. We're coming to you from TG Squared Studios in lovely Phoenix, Arizona, and that's all I'm going to say.
Okay, and I'm Ben Raggington, also coming to you from with still very, very shaky legs after last Tuesday's press screening of Infinity War here in Phoenix, Arizona.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in the second segment. Spoiler free. So
fine.
Not to worry. So we have a...
But I want to say who everybody dies.
Yeah, well, no, not everybody.
Well, okay, I just want to list some of the people.
The whole world doesn't die.
No, but I want to list all the people that did.
Oh, well, anyway. So we'll got an interesting interview for you here now. So let's get to it. And this time we have a special guest all the way from the United Kingdom, Mr. Sam Johnson, creator and writer of Geek Girl. Welcome to the show, Sam.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, so tell us, who is Sam Johnson, and what is it that you do? We said comic book writer of Geek Girl. So tell us who you are and tell us about Geek Girl.
I'm Sam. I'm originally from London. I've moved to Sheffield in the north of England and lived here for many years now. I write comics. The Almighties is one of my books, co-created with Mike Gagnon, which is like a superhero parodying type thing. Geek Girl is probably my most well-known one. Geek Girl is Ruby Kay, a hot, popular college chick who is used to getting what she wants, and when her and her friend Stacy overhear the resident college brainiac Trevor Goldstein talking about these super tech glasses he's invented that give the wearer flight and strength powers, everybody's drunk, and she decides she wants them and gets them more drunk and beats him in a game of strip poker. So she's landed these glasses. Now, she's not a type of person who would necessarily think, oh, this means I'm a superhero. Her first instance of using her powers, it just involves klutziness and knocking drinks over her too cool for school clique and alienating them, with the exception of Summer, her best friend, who is into superheroes and comics and drives her to use them in the way that we as comic readers will be familiar with.
Well, that sounds interesting.
I love the fact that she won it during a game of strip poker. There's a certain irony to this, I think.
Yeah. Well, this is something that kind of comes back, because the thing is that she changes at the beginning of the first mini-series. She's kind of an it girl, fairly self-involved, not used to doing things to help other people, and there's a development, there's a character arc in that first mini-series, and when we come to the new one, things are going to be a little different.
Interesting. So I thought it was kind of interesting that she has these glasses that are the things that give her the superpower, so it's kind of an inverse of Superman and Clark Kent.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. The whole thing is because you've got if you think of like the original Peter Parker and Clark Kent, these are the sort of nerdy, uncool guys, and then they become these cool superheroes. Whereas she is this cool kid who kind of becomes a bit of a mess when she gets these powers, not being used to using them, and she has to try and get a handle on that, especially as in the first series, which there's a free comic book day digital comic coming out on free comic book day that kind of recaps and replays the climax of the first series, which entails her taking on this big bad supervillainess lightning storm who's trying to kind of take control of the city and is taking out points of authority and taking down superheroes. So it's quite a baptism of fire to get her to the point where she, can actually go up against and try and stop this new badass mysterious villain.
Yeah. There's some interesting twists that you're taking here. I mean, the whole superhero genre, mixing it, with geek culture. I mean, you've really kind of taken these two things, you merge them together, you turn it on its ear. I think it's a nice fresh take. Where the heck did you pull that out of your head?
I just, the way I came up with Geek Girl was Image Comics, a studio, Shadowline Studios within Image, were running Who Wants to Create a Superheroine contest, and I just literally sort of brainstorm ideas for superheroes, and developed it further from there. I came up with 3 ideas and decided this was one I really wanted to pursue. And yeah, you can describe it as kind of Mean Girls meets superheroes. And the Mean Girls element is a key part in it. Like Karen Carpenter is like the sort of leader of the cool kids clique who's got barbed comments for Ruby, and plays an important. All of these girls play an important role and will continue to do so in the new series, where things change, because in the first series, she kind of alienated them, acting dorky and so forth. They didn't take this whole superhero thing seriously, thought it was, a fantasy. And then by the end of the mini-series, she has saved their city from lightning storms. So whereas they distance themselves from the uncool Geek Girl is now the savior of where they live, Maine. So they might want to, reassociate with Ruby, seeing as they like to be part of what's popular.
So how many...
issues
is the original series?
Well, there was an issue 0 back in the day, a long time ago, that gets recapped in what is the first 4-issue mini-series that's available in as a collection as well. Geek Girl, Lightning Strikes.
Oh, cool.
I want to back up a little bit. Interesting that you're talking about comic books. What was the genesis for you to wanting to get into this particular industry? I mean, did you show any kind of talent, or proclivity towards artistry and storytelling as a child?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I always wanted to get into writing, and at the time where I was sort of deciding exactly what I wanted to do in terms of career, I just got back into comics when I came across Rob Liefeld's stuff on New Mutants, introducing Cable and Deadpool. That got me back into comics properly. And at this time, Image Comics again were running talent search contests where you could submit like pitches for one-shots starring their characters. So that got me into it, and it sort of, as a sort of starting point. And then Wizard Comics magazine ran one of those as well that I came joint second in. So this got me hooked, and this is like, yeah, I'm gonna write comics. This is what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm. So when you do you do the artwork as well? Because I know that most comic book creators, they either write or they draw. They don't necessarily do both. What exact role do you have in doing this, or are you really the master of all trades in this?
Oh, no. I'm the writer. I mean, you only have to look at my handwriting to see how terrible I would be as an artist. So the art is Carlos Granda, who's a fantastic artist. It took a long time to find the right artist, because Geek Girl Zero was done by a girl, Sally, who was just doing it as a sort of experiment. It's not her usual kind of thing. She does more manga-y slice of life stuff, but the Zero issue worked because it was just sort of centered in Ruby's college world, and it was, about, college girls and everyone looking distinctive from each other, and it worked in that context. But when we went into, she's a proper superhero now, we need a more widescreen thing, and it took a long time to find the right artist in Carlos, and he is the man for the job, and the artist Chaman Zhao is excellent as well, as is the letterer. So it's a great team, and happily, it's a team that has continued from the first series into the new one.
Well, I love consistency, and I'm looking at some of the artwork right now, and I've got to admit, I'm really impressed with the quality of it. Yeah. I mean, that's worthy of something that you might see in a Marvel or a DC line.
Yeah, I mean, I could see. I am proud of it, and I'm proud that it stands up against the likes of those, because I'm a Marvel fan. Yeah, I mean, Carlos, he nails it, and again, as I mentioned with Sally, while it's important, obviously, that he can draw superhero action and so forth. Once again, as with Sally, there's a lot of female characters in this, and you don't have to think about who's who. They all look clearly distinctive from each other, and he brings individual body language to them. So he's the man for the job.
Well, that's really cool. So tell us where you can be found, as far as the you have a trade issue out, or are the individual available of the issues?
Well, if you go to geekgirlcomics.com, that links to just about everything. There was like limited variants of the first miniseries. You can still get those there. One of them is really cool by John Royal, who took over from J. Scott Campbell on Danger Girl, and it also links to buying the collection at Amazon. So geekgirlcomics.com. You can find what you want. Geek Girl Zero is out print. We had a good run with that. I mean, that was some years ago we put that out, and we had 3 printings of it. But the only remaining copies of that are available from me. So anyone that wants that one would need to contact me directly. And you can find me on Facebook. If you've got friends that are into comics, it's not unlikely we've got mutual friends. If that isn't the case, again, geekgirlcomics.com will links to the Geek Girl Facebook group, which I'm obviously quite prominent in.
That's cool. So,
how long have you been at this?
Yeah.
I've been at this a long time. It took me some time.
Oh, come on! You look like you're
in.
12 in your photo.
Yeah.
Well, that photo isn't that up to date, to be fair. But I do look younger than I am. But yeah, I mean, I've been getting published for a good few years now, which was really facilitated a lot by the internet and being able to do things that you couldn't before. Back in the day, it was just a case of going to cons and sending stuff off to publishers. And it's really the contacts I've made online that have got me into things properly, and and one thing leading to another. So yeah, I mean, Geek Girl Zero came out in 2009.
Wow.
So it was around about that sort of time where I started getting published. And Marcosi are the publisher for the mini-series, and what was good about the deal with them was they believed it enough that they were committed to do a second series before we even knew how the first one would go down, which was really important to me, because it's something I'm invested in. That I love, and I have long-term plans for. Like the intention, I spent a lot of time building up the audience for it, and the intention is to have, after we've done the second mini-series, at some point the audience be big enough that we can justify the third series being an ongoing.
Have you thought about doing any kind of like expansion of this little universe? Creating new characters. Next thing creating your own geek universe for the comic books. Is that something that you've considered at any point?
Oh yeah, that's kind of in the sort of background of what I'm doing at the moment, because one of the things I love about comics is having that crossover element. And we've got I've had another character of mine, Carbra Cini, Voodoo Junkie Hitwoman, has
Wow,
appeared.
that's a title.
Yeah, yeah, people dig the title.
I mean, I'd hate
She's
to be
appeared.
the villain that says, "Oh no, it's," spill out the name. It's like, wow.
But by the time you've got it out, she could cut your
Yeah,
head off.
exactly.
But yes, she is an ex-crack whore turned
Oh God.
supernatural come for hire.
Okay, it's getting better
And
by the second.
yeah, it's one of my favorite characters. She's appeared in HM Comics, used to run an anthology called Effects, and she appeared in 4 issues of their annual Halloween issue. Anyway, what I'm getting to is she. I've got there is a mini series for her that's not far from completion, but I want her to come into the Geek Girl universe. I've got a very specific idea in mind for that. So the intention is, well, more than the intention, it will happen that she will come in the third series. So we've got that going on. There's a character in the Almighties. I mean, the Almighties is a much more comedic affair, so you've got to be a little difficult with crossing over with that, because it's kind of like Family Guy humor. So it's not, it doesn't have the sort of realness feel of Geek Girl. But yeah, there's an intention to bring one of the characters from that in. So yeah, I enjoy the whole crossover thing. And yeah, as I say, what I'm playing with Carbra is quite a key thing for what I have in mind for the third series.
Is it? So you've mentioned, to my count so far, you've mentioned 2 superheroes, both women. Is this a gender avenue that you like to go down? Female power, female representation as heroes. Is this something intended, or is it just the way it all worked out?
No, it is something I enjoy writing. I mean, my 2 characters that I'm kind of most invested in are Carbra and Geek Girl. But I mean, the Almighties, all but one of the members are male. So it's not something I do exclusively. And we have as well in Geek Girl a character, Pitbull, the jock superhero, who is a fun character and is back for the new mini-series. So yeah, I do sort of gravitate towards writing strong female characters, but at the same time, I certainly enjoy the male ones. I mean, the League of Larcenists are the new bunch of villains that are going to be coming up in the new series, and they're predominantly male and comedic and fun to write.
What are some of the challenges that you faced? I mean, between writing a female character versus a male. I mean, as a male writer yourself, what are some of the, like I said, what are some of the challenges that you've had to face in trying to create characters like that?
It comes naturally to me. I mean, I've been writing stuff with female leads from back in the day before I was getting published. I wrote a great long arc for this character called Rebecca Black, nothing to do with the terrible singer. What happened with that, though, was I found there was elements of it that, in hindsight, that was, I learned kind of part of what was learning my craft was I wrote like about 30 issues of 2 separate series, but it was a learning thing. These won't see print, this was the early days, and I can see now there were things in it that didn't quite work, but plenty of it did work. And in fact, this Rebecca Black thing, there's elements of that that I'll be bringing to the third Geek Girl series, including this Carbra Cini thing. That was where I first wrote Carbra Cini with her. The first scene I ever wrote with her is one of my favorite scenes, which is just a kind of scenery chewing. This is a total crazy badass character. She's just going around the supermarket to buy tampons, smoking a cigarette as she does, and gives the teller quite a hard time, and is just generally unhinged and over the top. And yeah, it was fun and kind of that. Yeah, I'm like, I want to do more with this character.
This is not your daddy's comic book kind
Yeah.
of thing. I wasn't seeing stuff.
No.
I wasn't seeing anything like this when I was buying comics in my teenage years. I got to admit, I'm pretty impressed.
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
No, I'd say I'm looking forward to because I haven't, at this point I haven't, though I've got these ideas of what I want to do with the third series of Geek Girl and it involved Carver. I haven't at this point actually written anything with the two of them together. So I at this point I don't even know sort of what that interaction is going to be like. But I think it'll be enjoyable.
Have you experienced any kind of hankering to write something that's completely independent and outside of this, like at a completely different genre, like something that's maybe like pure drama or horror or sci-fi? I mean, something unrelated, sort of like as a brain cleanser, shall we say?
Not really. I mean, I've written stuff that like the first thing I had published was a more kind of crime type thing that was done quite straight. But even then, there's like when I wrote stuff for anthologies, I was kind of setting up or introducing things that would then be part of a bigger thing. For example, the Gold Town is the one I'm referring to, and in that there's a connection between that and Mr. Mashup, who's one of the Geek Girl villains, who is this twisted bastard love child of a goddess and a demon who can tap into people's minds, and he's got this vessel inside of him. He can transform into a clone of them, transfer his consciousness into that, and he can sort of shed his skin and come out in the form of this vessel. So to the layman, he is now this person, and what he does is, in the case of Ruby, he taps into the minds of people and finds who they most hate and then torments them. So in the case of Ruby, as happens in the first series with Mr. Mashup, it's Karen Carpenter. And so he, in Ruby's eyes, is Karen Carpenter when they're interacting, and he goes way, way hard on her, given that Karen is already, not the nicest person in the world. Mashup takes it to the next level.
I gotta back up a little bit. This really has me very, very intrigued now, because you have just described during the course of our conversation some of the most incredible characters I have ever heard of. I want to address Mr. Mashup. Wow, I don't even know how to ask this question. Where do you come up with a character like that?
Well, I always reference Grant Morrison's run on Doom Patrol is out there and with some of the weirdest superhero stuff, and that was something I was really into, and it has been a great influence on me. And from that, I've kind of been able to get into a sort of thinking weird mode zone. And that is, I think, how I came up with Mashup, and also 100% is how I came up with Carbracini. As anyone that's not familiar with Grant Morrison's run on Doom Patrol that likes a bit of weird, I would highly recommend it. And also, currently, the new run of it being written by Gerard Way, which has quite a similar feel and keeps the weirdness going. So yeah, it's I think without that, my writing would be different. That's been a huge influence, and though it's not sort of prevalent in Geek Girl, which is a lot more grounded than Doom Patrol, I think certainly in Geek Girl and in my other projects, you can see threads there that spring from the influence of Mr. Morrison.
So you're just saying that, like, when you were coming up with the character Mashup, that you just started pulling ideas out of your head. Oh, wouldn't it be great if he had this kind of parentage? And oh my word, if he could do this, and you just start like writing notes down, like, wow, this would be great if he had these characteristics, etc. And then you just kind of like mashed, pardon the pun, mashed all together and say, this is the villain I want. Is that kind of how you describe it?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, with Carver, I just had this sort of basic idea that she was going to be this over the top scenery chewing character, and I just wrote it, and from there I had this singular scene that kind of I really liked, and from there I built her backstory and how she actually became this sort of deranged lady. And that all goes into the mini series. So though that kind of like the starting point for me as the writer was her being all whacked out. When we sort of expand on things, she wasn't so strange and brutal at first, and that's we'll get to explore the character and see what took her to this point when we get to the miniseries.
So, with these characters, obviously each one has got their own unique voice. Now, this is a question I love to ask writers, because it doesn't matter if you write a book or if you're writing a graphic novel. If you're a writer, I kind of think there's some kind of a similar process that's got to be going on in people's heads. So, with each of these characters is obviously really unique in the way they present themselves. How fully formed are they in your head? I mean, to the point, like, can you almost like hear them speak to you as you're writing a story? And the follow-up to that is, has it at any point while you've been working on a story, has it evolved into a completely unique direction that you never expected it to go?
Yeah, I mean, Peter David had a line about sort of, when you come up with these ideas, you may have like, oh, this is this particular thing I want to do, and I'm building to this, and this is going to be a standout point. And then, his expression involved getting rid of these things, because, for example, in the second series of Geek Girl, the Geek Girl, at the heart of it is the relationship between Ruby and Summer being the BFF who pushes her into being a heroine. And whereas in the first miniseries things were plain sailing, things are going to get rocky in their relationship in the series 2. And when they kind of come together, I had very specific things that I had in mind to do with it, and specific lines. But then when you're writing it and you're writing these, people in inverted commas, then their actions kind of, it can go another way, because it is just an idea until you actually, start tapping it out. And then, and the plans I originally had for the second Geek Girl miniseries are what we now have are very, very different. And one of the things that I enjoy about it, and that I got worked in the first series, is that it's unpredictable. And with the Free Comic Book Day digital comic, there's a big reveal at the end of that, because where we stand going into that is, at the end of the first miniseries, Geek Girl versus Lightning Storm, they kind of took each other out, and Geek Girl got electrocuted. So we don't know, whether they're alive or dead. And through the course of the Free Comic Book Day, we'll see exactly what's going on with Ruby. And then after that, there's an ad for the new one, which I've deliberately not posted anywhere yet, because I want people to see that when they get through the comic. And this is I would hope an unexpected direction for the readers.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned unexpected, because a question just came to my brain. When you were writing these stories, has there ever been a development or a twist that surprised you?
I'm not sure if I'd go that far. No. I mean, I have, like with Cobra and with Geek Girl, I've got very, these are kind of character arcs. These are characters that are developing. So I've got a definite, this is where I want to go from and to. But there are certainly, I like to, not do if you think of sort of Hollywood movies, there tends to be a kind of, structure to the narrative where you kind of sense, right, where you are, and you have an idea of where things are going to be going. And I've thrown some curveballs in there, and there's a moment in the second series that hopefully will be jaw-dropping to people. So I can't say that things have massively surprised me and myself, but I think I keep things fresh, and I think that there's plenty of surprises for the readers.
Cool. So the places where some of these can be found, because you've mentioned Free Comic Book Day, and that is May 1st, if I'm not mistaken.
May 5th.
May 5th. Excuse me. May 5th.
May 5th.
So what exactly for our listeners? What can they find on Free Comic Book Day then?
So the digital comic is Geek Girl: Whatever Happened to Ruby K, which the cover is a kind of homage or pastiche of Whatever Happened to Baby Jane film poster.
Oh, you just geeked me out in a big way by saying that.
So that's that, and that's going to be available at the Free Comic Book Day Facebook group, or if you join the Geek Girl mailing list at geekgirlcomics.com, you automatically get sent a copy of this to you. So there's that, and then hopefully things will be put together enough that in the back of that, when it comes out, there'll be a link to pre-ordering the new one. And yeah, everything will be available at the Geek Girl Comics website. I don't know if this will still be the case when this show goes out, but currently, while it's available at Comixology, they're currently doing the whole first miniseries at half price as part of a thing that the publisher Marcosia are running, where they sometimes do these things where they just basically put all their books out half price for a short amount of time. So, as I say, I don't know when that ends, but certainly worth checking out on Comixology and seeing if you can get in at half price. And there was a jump on issue 3, that recaps previous issues, and that's because that was specially priced for that reason. You can get that for 99 cents if this offer's still on. But if not, it's only $1.99, so that won't break the bank.
Yeah.
Far out. I got to admit, you just earned some serious cred, some serious geek cred by referencing Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. A young lad like you knowing that movie, I'm impressed.
I'm not so young as to, don't worry about that picture. But no.
Seriously, I'm looking at a teenager.
It's a great picture.
It's a good picture.
No.
It's a really good picture, but I'm looking at a child. I mean, Keith and I are we're in our. I'm 56. Keith is a tiny bit older than me. I mean, I grew up with that movie, but for someone as youthful as you, I've got to admit, I'm terribly impressed that you're familiar with that film.
Yeah, well, the thing that kind of brought it mostly to my attention was, I don't know if you're aware of Shakespeare's Sister. I don't know if they had much of a presence in America. Do you know Bananarama?
Oh, yes, I know Bananarama.
So Siobhan Fahey out of Bananarama formed a quite edgy or alternative, whatever term you want to use, group. Really? And their first, I think it was their first single, certainly one of the first singles off one of their albums, were their videos, a big sort of pastiche of whatever happened to Baby Jane, which I'd recommend checking out their stuff. Shakespeare's Sister, weirdly spelt without an E on the end of Shakespeare. They're great. So yeah, that's kind of how I'm familiar with that. But it just fits, because the whole thing is, we don't know what's going on with Ruby after the end of the first mini-series. So Whatever Happened to Ruby K is a good title. And then having had that title, I'm like, oh, that'd be quite cool to sort of play on the Baby Jane thing. So the cover of the miniseries is totally, as I say, a kind of homage to the movie poster.
Yeah. Well, again, I think serious geek points on pulling something like that out.
Yeah.
Just to be clear, I am 44, despite the picture looking.
Oh, you're just
quote,
a child.
Holy moly! You found the fountain of youth.
Yeah, but that's an old picture. I mean, I have up until recently.
You were 14 when you took that photo, huh?
They had cameras back then? No, I'm just joking.
But yeah, I'm a big vodka fan. And up until recently, I have regularly been ID'd, and I'm now questioning whether I'm through that phase now, because it hasn't happened in the last few months. But I'm still getting ID'd buying vodka up until recently. So,
wow.
It does. It's like at my day job, when I had to bring in like ID, the guy was looking at my passport and he saw the date of birth and was seriously questionnaire. And I actually, because I'd worked there before, he actually spoke to some people that I'd worked with to verify that I was the age I said I was, because this was a whole, security thing. Yes. But 44.
Well, don't question it, appreciate it,
Exactly.
because you're going to start to. Keith and I both look pretty good for our age. You will reach that point where you'll be really glad you got that baby face. So don't fret it. Relish it while you can.
I always, I occasions found it frustrating getting ID'd buying vodka, but now, as I say, it hasn't happened recently. I kind of want it to happen.
Yeah, now that it's stopped.
So I wanted to, I just looked at the Geek Girl comic book page on Facebook, and I noticed that you have Barbara Dillon and Hannibal Taboo, and
those are names we know.
Some people that we've talked to regularly. Barbara and Bryant are really fabulous people at Fanbase Press, and
Yes, they've been a good support of the comic. Jody Scaife, that reviews for them, is really into it and is on the mailing list and has always given it great reviews. So yeah, I've got a good connection with them.
Yeah, well, while you guys were talking, I was doing all the Facebook and Twitter stuff. So you're going to go to your Twitter and your Facebook, and they're going to be
bombarded.
Yeah.
We have descended upon you.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
So if anybody wants to learn more about you and all things Geek Girl, we mentioned that obviously there's geekgirls.com, but is there any other kind of social media presence by which people can then go to and read more about either Geek Girl or you in particular?
Yeah, Geek Girl Facebook group is a really good one, and you should be seeing previews from the new series ahead of its release on there. My Twitter handle is Sam Johnson, DA Sam Johnson. There's also a Ruby K Twitter, which is Ruby_K. There's an E on the end of K and then underscore again. Any problems finding anything, as I say, if you go to geekgirlcomics.com, that links to the Facebook group, and I'm prominent on there, so you shouldn't have to do too much stalking to track me down.
Yeah, so
cool.
You have the first series that's available, and you've got a free Comic Book Day digital comic coming out for May 5th for Free Comic Book Day, so we are looking forward to seeing that. Thanks for being on the show this time.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Hi, this is Queen Karishma. And you're listening to the Two Gay Geeks.
I'll never get tired of that.
The Queen Karishma. Yeah, that was just one of those things that just happened by accident. And here's a few selected birthdays for April 30th through May 6th. April 30th, Cloris Leachman.
Look out!
Woo! I don't have a
horse whinny.
I don't have a horse whinny.
We may need to actually cut that out of a movie or something, or a sound effect.
Yeah. Also, Gal Gadot, Kunal Nayar, and Johnny Galecki.
On the same day.
On the same day. I think we
that.
made some comment about that last year.
Maybe we did.
And I only put this next one in here. Lee Francis. I don't know who he is, but on the website that I do birthdays from, they had Graham Norton's photo on Lee Francis's page.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's weird.
No. I thought, does he have a different name?
I don't think he does.
No, he doesn't. It's somebody completely different.
Wow.
And also on April 30th, Alice B. Toklas, who...
Oh, I could use some good brownies.
Good brownies. And Al Lewis.
Grandpa,
Grandpa Munster. May 1st, Wes Anderson, Joanna Lumley, and our friend Megan Zier from back in the Slice of Sci-Fi days. May 2nd, Engelbert Humperdinck.
Humperdinck.
Yes.
Which Humperdinck?
The singer.
Oh, not the composer.
Not the composer.
Or the prince.
No. Also on May 2nd, David Suchet.
Yes. David
Suchet. Yeah, I've had something to drink already. And Christine Baranski and Roy Roberts, the Bionic Geek. Happy birthday, Roy. May 3rd, Anne B. Davis.
Alice.
And Bing Crosby and Niccolo Machiavelli was born in 1469, and we've been dealing with the mad Machiavelli since
We've been
then.
dealing with him ever since.
Yeah. And May 3rd, Steven Weinberg, famed physicist, that we've seen a number of times in several different things. He's was University of Texas, I think, or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah. And Ron Popeil of the Popeil Pocket Fishermen, among other things.
Okay, that's reaching.
Way back in the 60s.
That's reaching. I'm not familiar with
You
him.
don't know who Ron Popeil was?
Can't say that I do.
Oh my God. He had all of these crazy things. My grandparents bought virtually everything he ever sold on TV. The Popeil Pocket Fisherman was a thing.
I am not familiar with
They
that.
actually bought one of those. Also on May 3rd, Betty Comden, who wrote, my God, she did everything. Screenwriter, just scriptwriter, composer,
Right.
along with Adolph Green. They did so many different things. Singing in the Rain is the big one.
Right.
And also on May 3rd, friend of ours, Zoe de Grand Maison.
Oh, yes, from Morning After.
Morning After, yes. May 4th, Roberta Peters.
I didn't know she sang.
Yes, she is a famed opera
She is an opera singer.
Yes. Long story there. Also, Audrey Hepburn. May 5th, Roger Rees, Lance Henriksen, Pat Carroll.
Oh.
Unfortunate souls. And John Rhys Davies. I wonder if he's related to Russell T. Davies. He's John
God.
R. S. There was another generation, and then T. Davies. No?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Henry Cavill, Michael Palin, James Beard, the James Beard,
Beard Award
is named after, and our nephew Andy Hill. May 6th, Orson Welles, Sigmund Freud, Willie Mays, and Mr. Brian Brown, who neither one of us would have been doing anything like this
It weren't for
if
him.
it hadn't been for Brian Brown.
Yeah, he's
and Michael Menegay.
Yeah, between those two.
Yep. And that's it for the birthdays this time.
Technorama, the podcast for geeks, because geeks are better than cool. You don't hear someone say, "Get away from me, you cool person." Who's gonna have their 65-inch home theater system installed by the Cool Squad? Not me, that's for sure. How much cool cred do you have? Not enough to care about. Think you'll find any canned unicorn meat at thinkcool.com? It's just a part domain name. They don't even have roadkill in a paper cup. That's why you need to start listening to Technorama, because that's what geeks do. Go to chuckchat.com and listen to Technorama before you turn cool.
Hopefully we're not too cool to listen to Technorama. Cool to give it a listen to our friends Chuck and Craig over there at Technorama. Find them at chuckchat.com/Technorama. And now, what is this? What is this noise?
I don't know, but it keeps changing in volume. And there's only so much time in the episode.
It's done.
Great. Anyway, starting with, yes, it's feedback time. Starting with episode 166, we had a little bit of feedback there, which we greatly appreciate because that was one of the most enjoyable episodes we've ever done
Yeah, it was a lot
with
of fun.
Queen Karishma, Vanessa Cater, and Katrina Law.
Yeah.
And
it was great.
Oh my God,
It was so much fun.
It was
Just
so much
sitting there
fun.
in the hotel room with the studio audience even.
We had
It
an
was
audience.
It was wonderful.
It was unbelievably enjoyable. There was lots of laughter. And starting off with a comment from good friend Hamish Downey, he writes, "Such a fun episode." Got a comment from Chimera the Movie, in other words, Maurice Himes. On Twitter, he wrote, "Such a fun time." And then we got some feedback from all three of the lovely ladies. First from Queen Karishma. She says, "Thanks for having us. I've never laughed harder." And then Vanessa Cater. She says, "Katrina, Karishma, and I talked about all things acting, stunts, LA life, and how we solidified our friendship naked in a bathtub."
Yeah.
And then Katrina Law, she comes off with, "We had so much fun chatting with you. Bathtubs. ... Yeah. You need to hear this episode if you haven't already. It's a
166.
Jewel. Episode 166.
Go to it now.
This one will be...
Well, after you finish this
After you finish listening to this one, yes. Then last week, we had a little news item on our website. It was an article, 3-episode thoughts on the new Netflix series Lost in Space, and this generated some interesting feedback.
Yes.
We got a comment from Daniel Franks. He's someone we met up at the Prescott area.
Yeah, Verde Valley.
The Verde Valley Comic Book
Expo,
right. And he writes, 3 episodes in, I thought it might have legs. Having finished it, I don't think it does.
It lost its legs.
He's never had any. And then he got a comment from Arkle. And boy, he had a lot to say. I'll fly through this as quickly as I can. I finished the whole season the other day, and while there are some creative choices I took issue with, starting it in media res not being one of them, as I think the story we got just wouldn't work if told chronologically. In other words, all of the flashbacks. Overall, I really liked it. I thought Parker Posey was fantastic as Dr. Smith, and I had no problems with the kids, though I'm still uncertain as to what Penny did that got her approved for the Resolute. That's a good question. I will say that everything Parker's character does, you'll find is calculating, even when it doesn't entirely work, which is a nice bit of realism in my opinion. Even the good deeds. And honestly, I don't see why all the nods to the previous series would be considered a negative. Heck, I actually missed one of them until you pointed it out. All in all, I think my dad, who was the one who turned me onto the original series as he'd watched it as a kid, and we both saw the movie in the theaters together, would have liked this series, and like me, he'd be hoping for a season 2. And then he finishes up, heck, if they'd even gone chronological here, we wouldn't even see the Jupiter 2 until like episode 3 at the earliest. Oh, and one more thing. The music on this show is fantastic. All I've got to say about the nods would be great, except when that is the most, in my opinion, the most creative thing in the entire show, now I've got a problem. And then
I haven't seen it, so...
No, you haven't seen it yet. And then we got a comment from Scott Linder, who says, I have to agree with Arkle. I'm liking this version of Lost in Space. As a fan of the original series and the movie they did, I liked it. I do like the plugs and Easter egg tributes tossed in. I would too if everything else was up to par. I do, the one thing I agree with Ben on is that I am not a fan of being thrown into this without being introduced to the characters and given some background. It really makes it hard to care for and relate to them. But in seeing 4 episodes, I do see why they did it. I look forward to finishing the season up and offering a better critique. Let me add this. Yes, my comment was, my article was 3-episode review. I've actually seen 5. And my opinion did not get any better. Enough said about that, and that is our feedback for this week.
We want to hear from you, as we've heard from all of our listeners so far. And if you have a comment that you want to make about our episodes or about any of the content that we put out on our website at tggeeks.com, you can comment there at the end of each article and the end of every episode. We have a space for your comments. You have to scroll down a little bit, but we welcome your feedback.
Oh, we want the feedback.
We love your feedback, good or bad. We can handle it. Tell us what you like about the show, what you don't like, if you have ideas for content, anything you want to say to us, you can do it. You can do it on the website. You can do it on our YouTube episode. You can do it on Facebook.
We want your feedback. We need your feedback. We're dying for your feedback.
And you can even call us on our listener feedback line.
Yes.
And we'll play your comment on air. That's 469-TG-GEEKS. That's 469-844-3357. And as always, please play nice.
You don't need to hear their identification. They're the 2 gay geeks. They can go about their business. Move along.
Okay, then.
Since we have limited time,
we have
as
limited
you said.
time. Yes, there's only. I'm keeping a timer on this, and we've got about 11 minutes. Wow, a number of things to talk about here. First off, we had the enormous pleasure of seeing a workshop of a brand new commissioned opera called The Copper Queen, and we got an article on that on our website.
Yeah.
That'll be in the show notes for this episode. Wow.
Now, for our listeners that don't know what a workshop is, this is a newly commissioned work. It was a work that was commissioned by Arizona Opera, and kind of started out by the Spark Commissioning Club of Arizona Opera. They approved it, and then John and Clint went to work. And
those are the librettist and the composer.
Yep, and they did a wonderful little piece, and they did what it's called a workshop. They came and they worked with singers at Arizona Opera, and they kind of did a run-through. It's more of a run-through, piano accompaniment run-through of the opera, and they only did the first half here, as I recall.
Which unfortunately we missed. We couldn't
didn't get
be
to
here.
go to it, but this was the whole thing, and it was done at the Opera America National Opera Center in New York, which is quite a big deal because Opera America is really a big thing.
That is a big thing.
It's right there at Lincoln Center.
It's a very big thing.
And so this was a whole run through with some very professional singers and a wonderful accompanist. Oh my God, he sat there and played for 2 hours nonstop.
Yeah.
So it was really good, and that's kind of what a workshop is. And then the next phase of something like this, of a newly commissioned work after being workshopped, is to kind of flesh it out a little bit more. They already did that with Corey.
I cannot remember her name.
Ella.
But she helped with us refining some of the musical and text.
Yep. And then they would set it to orchestra and then kind of go from there. So that's what a workshop is. Sorry.
So anyway, now that that's all been explained, what did you think of it?
I thought it was great. There were it was interesting to hear some of the music and how it played into the characters and what was going on. Now, it was not completely staged. There were some limited stage direction because they were just in a very small hall. And I couldn't hear all of the text, and that was part of the nature of the room.
We should explain how it is that we were hearing this.
Yeah, and it was via a live stream over YouTube. So it was a little difficult to hear all of it, but just when the characters would talk about certain things, or they would be doing certain things, or there were certain characters that were singing, the music changed significantly. So it was not necessarily leitmotifs, but it was a structure to the music. There was some dissonance that was talked about when we talked about Julia, and the Copper Queen is actually a hotel
it's a sort of true story.
Bisbee, Arizona.
Right.
And it's about Julia Lowell, who was she
was a prostitute.
Well, a Cowtown courtesan.
Yes.
As I call her. And she killed herself. And she seems to be haunting this
She's
hotel.
haunting a particular room.
And so that's what this whole thing is about. It's set in current times. Somebody goes to visit, and then it does some flashbacks to Julia's time and forward, and flashback and forward. And as the music would change with what they were talking about.
Yeah,
so
as the overall story was advancing, so was the music, and I was just completely blown away by the quality of it. It's astonishingly good for an American work.
Yep. Clint Borzoni wrote the music, and John De Los Santos wrote the libretto, and John is going to be here he's going to be the director of Maria de Buenos Aires.
Oh, I can't wait to see that.
Next season.
Part of the Red Series.
Yep. So, yeah, I enjoyed Copper Queen.
I
tremendously.
really, really liked it. I cannot wait to see this thing finally polished.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
I look forward to hearing it with a full orchestra, because when those melodic themes really took over, it was remarkably beautiful.
Exactly.
So speaking of beautiful and speaking of opera.
Yes, on Saturday we went to see the Met Live in HD production of Cendrillon, which was featuring the, as I...
how did you describe her?
On Twitter as the always fabulous Joyce DiDonato.
And she liked that.
And it wasn't 2 minutes after I posted that, and we were like 2 minutes from the the opera
Curtain.
starting, the
Yeah.
curtain, and she liked it. And it's like, oh my gosh, I got liked by Joyce DiDonato.
Yeah, well, the funny thing is, I mean, her character does not actually. She plays Cendrillon, which is
It's like
Cinderella.
20 minutes into the
Yeah,
opera.
and she has quite a while before she actually comes on stage. So, I mean, Keith and I have never seen this before. We had no idea.
Oh my God, it
I
was
mean,
just incredible.
The only Cinderella opera we've seen has been Cenerentola, and in that one, Cinderella is there right at the very beginning. So
Yeah.
I kind of assumed the same, but no, she doesn't show for like 20 minutes. And right when she finally shows up, 20 minutes into the performance, I thought, well, no wonder she was on Twitter. She had all this time to kill.
Exactly. Exactly.
But yeah, she loved the tweet.
It was great. I
wept.
That third, I guess it was third act.
Yeah.
But when it winds up with this just stunning
The love
duet.
duets.
Oh my God, I
between,
just had tears in my eyes.
and Prince Charmant. It's just holy moly. I
Yep.
mean, there's two spectacular love duets, but that second one
Oh my.
was just it ripped your heart out.
Yeah, just tears.
It was unbelievably beautiful, and I really think that opera needs to be part of the regular opera literature these days.
Yeah, exactly.
It is remarkably beautiful.
Yeah.
So now, yes, the movie that everybody's talking about that
We're not talking about.
we're not talking about because they don't want spoilers. Because a lot of people have not seen this movie yet. They're waiting. They're holding out.
I don't know.
And I can't imagine
Go
why.
see it.
You have to see this film. You must see it now. And we're talking Avengers: Infinity War.
Oh, I thought you were talking about something else.
No,
Okay,
not really.
just that Infinity War.
Yeah.
Ah,
Why do
What?
you think I was talking about something else?
aha. I will give you one spoiler. It starts
Oh.
out with a blank screen.
Imagine that. I'll give you another one. There's closing credits with some really nice music.
Yeah, and it ends with a blank screen.
Yeah.
There you go.
Of a sort,
That's the
yeah.
spoilers.
There's your spoilers for this one. I do have a non-spoilery review on the website.
Yes.
So if people were afraid to actually read it because they thought I was going to spoil it, hey, people, I don't do spoilery reviews, especially of movies that have not, that when we catch press screenings for, I will never give a spoilery review. Never, ever, 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 ever. It's just not cool. So, having said that, wow, all I can say is that I absolutely loved this movie. I think this one has become my absolute favorite.
Yeah, it was a really great film, and I was talking about this with some coworkers on we have a every other week big to do that we have a conference call with all of everybody, and we were talking about it, and I said it really, if you really look at it, not Avengers, but the Marvel movies are written for those that haven't read the comic books, and which I haven't, and I absolutely loved the film. I really did.
It had plenty of exposition in there to fill in any gaps that you've got.
Yeah.
That I mean, even an explanation of the Infinity Stones. I mean,
exactly.
Again, we've seen the Infinity Stones explained numerous times throughout this entire Marvel saga, and yet each time it doesn't feel like we're rehashing.
Yep.
So that it's very well done there. I was very happy with this film, even though, and I've said this repeatedly, I do not like the story from the comic book. I don't like it. I've got my reasons for not liking it, and yet I walked into this movie and was just blown away. There were two moments where I gave, I kind of had it's called my fist pump moment.
Yeah.
Where literally my hand just went up in the air and cheering at two different times in this film. It was so incredibly well done, and my legs were literally shaking when we walked out of the theater.
Yeah.
I was so overwhelmed by it. I loved it, and I can't wait to see it again.
It's a great film.
And we had another busy week.
Yes, we did. And for those that only listen to the webcast,
Shame on you.
please do us a favor. Go over to the website. We have lots of content going on. We're trying to publish something every day, and Ben's going to give you a rundown on what we published this
Yes.
week.
So last Sunday, we had a Spotlight Sunday on Miguel Rodriguez. This
Of
is the
Horrible Imaginings
Horrible
Film
Imaginings. This is the man.
Festival.
He is one of those few people that helped change our lives.
Absolutely.
Totally. And I will say that the Horrible Imaginings Film Festival is probably one of the most enjoyable events we have ever been to. I love them. I'm hoping, I don't know if we can get a chance to go to this one coming up is it late August or early September?
Yeah.
I don't know if we can be able to pull that off. I certainly hope we can, but it's always a joy.
Yep.
And Miguel is an amazing individual.
Absolutely.
So then on Monday, of course, we had episode 166. That's the one we talked a little bit earlier with Queen Karishma, Vanessa, and Katrina Law. On Tuesday, Keith did, he had an advance review of a fantastic book called The Last Sun by Katie Edwards.
Yeah, going to be released on June the 12th. So look forward to picking it up.
Oh, gosh. Yes, absolutely. Also Tuesday, we had the review that I'd written for Avengers Infinity War. So if you want a non-spoilery review, but you haven't seen the film yet, you can always check that out. On Wednesday, Jeannie Koch came back with another one of her old classic newly reviewed films, this time the 1947 film The Bachelor and the Bobby Soxer. On Thursday, there were my 3-episode thoughts on the Netflix series Lost in Space.
Yeah.
On Friday, Hamish returns with another installment of News Sushi.
World famous.
Yes, from Morsels of News from Japan and Beyond. And also on Friday, contributor Andrea Richoff also had a review for Avengers Infinity War. We also did our little commentary on Copper Queen. Copper Queen has the patina to succeed. And then on Saturday, for our Social Saturday, we spotlighted the Blue Ribbon Army.
Or bra.
Or BRA for short.
Yeah.
And that's what we spotlighted and carried in our website for this past week.
You can find all of that at tggeeks.com, as well as entries on our Facebook page. Please visit and comment. As always, we got a little bit of our regular follow-up items. Yeah, we got calendar. If you got something, let us know. We'll put it on the calendar. We'll be glad to talk about it. Several new books for pre-order. Beth Cato's Roar of Sky. And this is the third book in the Blood of Earth series. And there's a pre-order widget on the right-hand side of the page. And The Last Sun by Katie Edwards. We got a widget over there so that you can pre-order that. Please pre-order with these books. It means a lot to...
It tells the publisher a lot.
Exactly. So to keep pre-ordering those books. Phoenix Comic Fest takes place at Convention Center May 24th through the 27th, 2018. And as always, Arizona Opera has finished its season. However, next season is going to be great. We've already talked about a couple of things. There's some really good stuff. Get your tickets at azopera.org. They also have a few things going on in the summertime, so check it out. You might be surprised. Check out the third edition of Podcasting for Dummies, written by T. Morris and Chuck Tomasi. Go to podcastingfordummies.com. And as everybody knows, we're huge supporters of independent creators, whether it's filmmakers, comic book artists, writers, artists, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Check them out. Buy their stuff. Support indie creators.
Yes.
Hashtag.
But the hashtag comes in the front.
Oh, hashtag support indie creators.
Yes.
All run together.
Right. One word.
One word.
One word.
No spaces.
No spaces.
It's hashtag.
Yes. Done?
I'm done.
Okay, good. Special shout out to Doctor Who Talking Who and Human Arkle on Twitter. They have paperly issues that they publish, and we mention it because they carry our content quite regularly. Doctor Who Talking Who's is the Doctor Who Fancast Guide. The Human Arkles is the Arkle Times Post-Dispatch News. And you can find them by, first, Doctor Who Talking Who is at Talking Who on Twitter, and the Human Arkles on Twitter is at Arkle. That is Arkle. And Arkle also has the Incorrect Star Trek Voyager quotes on Tumblr. Check it out for a good laugh. Then make sure you don't do it while you're at work because employers, they really don't kind of dig that sort of thing. They don't like that at all. So, yeah, do it in your own free time. Also, special shout out to the Facebook group, The Gay Geek, for allowing us to post our episodes on their page. We greatly appreciate it. Their URL is facebook.com/group/The Gay Geek. You'll have to request to join, but I recommend it because there's some really amazing stuff that goes on there. There's some fantastic conversation and some really beautiful artwork and photography that goes up there as well. So check it out, and as always, a special thanks to Jeremiah Reeves, our moderator, for allowing us. I got a funny feeling you have something you wish to share.
Yeah, and thanks, Jeremiah. There's also another one that's posting our content regularly, and another paperly. It's the Byronix Semidiurnal Aggregator.
Wow,
It's
that's a mouthful.
BYRONIK''S, Semidiurnal Aggregator. It's a paperly, and it's BYRONIK.
We'll
And
put
he's
that in the
at-
show notes.
Yeah. So they're running our content regularly as well. So thank you so much for that. And as always, we want to remind you to occasionally click on our Amazon ads. There's nothing, you don't have to buy anything. There's stuff at the bottom of each article and on widgets on the right-hand side of the page. It would be nice if some of the pre-order things you would do that, but thank you for checking out our Amazon ads. And lastly, check us out on iHeartRadio. Please rate and review us on iTunes and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Well, we got a couple of things that we can run next week. I just have
Not sure which yet.
We're not sure which one. We're kind of waiting on some PR people to let us know whether we should run something sooner rather than later. But
We will have something.
We do have a couple of interviews in the can, so we're ready to go with that. Okay, that should do it for this episode of TG Geeks Webcast. Be sure to check out the article for this webcast episode. We're going to have several links on the page about things we talked about. And remember, you can comment on our Facebook page or our website, tggeeks.com. Or you can leave us voicemail at 469-TG-GEEKS. That is 469-844-3357. From TG Squared Studios, I am Keith Lane. Thanks for listening. I bid you peace
Cheers.
and carrots.